Alright, I am probably going to go all over the place in this video, so I apologize ahead of time. Now, how would the free market solve the problem of protection, protecting your person and property, uh, as opposed to how the government does it? Well, before we go into that solution, let's focus on what is happening currently under a government. Well, let's look at the military system right now. The military system, way overexpensive, way over bloated. They're spending, 10 grand on toilets. And so obviously because they are a monopoly, they are way overspending on whatever they buy. And they are very wasteful, and they are very over budget all the time, of course, and they are an offensive military rather than a defensive military, which means that they have to spend a hell of a lot more money, and that they are offensive because, well, of course, the United States has the United States dollar as a world currency, and because of that, the United States is able to print off dollars and trade it for goods and services from other countries. So the U.S. benefits dramatically from this. However, it screws everyone else over by just giving them worthless paper. And of course, any country that decides to say, no, I don't want the dollar as the world reserve currency anymore, of course, we go to war and kill and execute the president who decides to try to dispute that. And we replace them with a government that won't dispute our world reserve currency status. So that's the military. And then we have our court system, which is even worse, a court system where if someone steals something from you, sorry, you're never going to be paid it back, okay? In all likelihood, that person is going to get away with it because the United States is a monopoly, and because we're a monopoly, we're so horrible at every service we provide, and we're horrible at the service of providing police as well. So the police in all likelihood, the police will never find the perpetrator. And if they do, then guess what? You're still never going to be paid back. They just end up throwing the thief into a box for a set amount of time, a box which you pay for, to add insult to injury. And so that's the court system. Oh, and what about contracts? Oh, well, contracts, guess what? If you go into a contract with someone and they screw you over, and let's say they screw you over with 50 grand or whatnot, guess what? In order to sue them, you have to pay $200 an hour for a lawyer, and these cases, they drag out for years and years, so you end up paying 40 to 50 grand in legal fees just to sue the guy, and even if you win, guess what? You still have to pay all your legal fees. So in a contract, someone can screw you over for 50 grand and get away with it, even if you take them to court and sue them, because you still have to end up paying 50 grand in legal fees anyway. So that's the court system. That's how the government is currently offering us the wonderful services of protection for our persons and property. What a great service they're offering us. Okay, now how would the free market solve the problem? The free market would solve the problem like it solves every other problem, by offering the best service and good at the cheapest price due to competition. Why is the government so horrible at offering these services? Because it's a monopoly. Break up the monopoly, have them compete, have these institutions competing against each other, and I guarantee you the services would become a lot better, higher quality, and at a cheaper price. This is just simple libertarian philosophy here that all libertarians should agree on, that monopolies are bad, and the cure to monopoly is competition. This is something everyone should agree on. And so that is your checks and balances to make sure that an institution offering the service of an entity offering the service of protection against foreign invasions or whatnot will not decide to, collect a whole bunch of guns and tanks and nukes and decide to go toward a world domination killing spree. You do it through competition. Competition will solve that problem of one guy deciding to try to take over the world. So how do I think the free market would solve the problem? I think this free market would solve the problem through insurance companies. I would think to myself, hey, I don't really like being killed, and I don't really like having my crap stolen from me. So I'm going to take on an insurance policy where if I happen to be killed, then the insurance policy has to pay my estate X amount of dollars. And if I happen to be stolen from, then the insurance company has to pay me X amount of dollars. And so the insurance company has every incentive to want to use preventative measures to make sure that these things do not happen to me, so that they do not have to pay up on the insurance policy. So that the insurance company would have to be would put itself in charge of defense against foreign invasion and defense against murderers and defense against thieves and so on. It would take the role of that, because it does not want those things to happen to me, because it doesn't want to pay up on the insurance policy. And these insurance companies would compete against each other to offer the best service at the cheapest price. And oh well, what if someone from another insurance company decides to commit an infraction against my rights? Oh, will these insurance companies go to war? No, of course not. These insurance companies will realize that such a scenario could possibly happen, and so they will make an agreement with each other on what they will do in that situation, whether they want to have it handled by a third-party arbitrator or whatnot. What if it's someone who doesn't even have an insurance policy who commits an infraction against me? What then? Well, the insurance policy would pay up on you, and then the insurance policy would either figure out what to do with the guy who has no insurance. In all likelihood, they would ostracize that person from the city, town, whatever, that has all these insurance companies that are working together, and so that person would be blacklisted. Much like people who cheat in casinos in Las Vegas, they get blacklisted and kicked out of the city. So the casinos, they work together to blacklist certain cheaters, because it's all in their communal best interest to do such a thing, just like it's in the best interest of insurance companies to blacklist anyone who doesn't have insurance. And so that there's a problem. There's the problem handled there on that side, and it would be able to. Let's go over contracts. Contracts would be once again handled by insurance companies. You would pay the insurance company XYZ amount of dollars to insure a contract, so that if the other guy screws you, the insurance policy pays up, and it would be the insurance agency's job to get the guy to pay the insurance company back. And so you and the other guy would agree ahead of time in the contract itself who the third party arbitrator would be, which is the insurance company or another third party arbitrator, to decide who's in the wrong if there happens to be a dispute, and on what authority you two decide to give to that arbitrator to enforce their decision. So, if they say I'm wrong and I say, oh, well, I'm not going to pay up, we agreed ahead of time in the contract itself what authority that third-party arbitrator has to force me to pay up. And in all likelihood, I imagine that what will happen if I decided not to pay up, I would have depending on what kind of contract this is, I will have a strike against my my contract score, just like I would have a strike against my credit rating if I decided to take up a whole bunch of credit cards and never pay them back. I would have a strike against my credit rating, and I would just have a strike going against my contract rating, which means that I would have to pay up a lot more money the next time I want to go into a contract with someone. Or now if I keep on screwing over people in my contract, and the insurance policy has to keep on paying them, and I never pay the insurance, guess what? Then they'll just blacklist me along with every other uninsured person, and I won't be able to get insurance anymore, and I'll be blacklisted. And so there you go. There's the basic idea, the basic system of how I think a free market would handle the problem of defense against foreign invasions and defense against other killers and thieves and so on, and how it would handle contract disputes and so on. So those are my basic ideas about the problem and how the free market would solve it. And I know for a fact that the free market would solve it better than the government does, because the government is a monopoly. And simply because of that fact, the government would offers a worse good or service at a higher price than the free market would, precisely because it's a monopoly and the free market wouldn't be. It would have competing institutions competing against each other to offer you the best service at the cheapest price. And so based on that fact alone, you are insured against based on that fact that you have competition, you are insured against one insurance company deciding to go rogue and collect a whole bunch of tanks and try to go toward world domination. You would be insured against that by competition. So yeah, that's my basic idea on my basic thoughts on the issue. Of course, this is just going over the very tip of the iceberg here, but think of this in terms of how does a free market solve the problem of every other good and service that's it's in charge of currently? Okay, that's exactly how it would solve the problem of common defense and a law structure as well. So I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much.